Okay. Attendees are joining now.
Okay, great. Welcome everybody. We'll just let numbers stabilise for a minute and then we can start. Hey, good morning everybody. We're just waiting for numbers to settle down and then we'll start.
Okay, I think we're stabilised now.
Excellent, thank you. So good morning everyone and welcome to the Alert 2025 Applicant Webinar. Thank you for joining today. And so before we launch into the webinar, I wanted to introduce myself and the team as there have been some changes since the 2024 Alert call. So I'm Jennifer Swarbrick, a Senior Portfolio Manager in the Research Infrastructure team, and I'm now responsible for the Alert scheme. So I'm going to pass over to my colleagues to introduce themselves. So if you want to start, Charlotte.
Yep. Hello, good morning, everyone. I'm Charlotte Cooper. I'm a Senior Portfolio Manager as part of the funding delivery team here at BBSRC. And I'm, helping Jen supporting the delivery of the Alert call this year. I'll pass over to Danny.
Hi everyone, I'm Danny Knight and I'm a Portfolio Manager in the funding delivery team, also supporting delivery of this call.
And just to Rowan next, please.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Rowan McKibbin. I'm an Associate Director at BBSRC with oversight of 3 of the teams, including the Research Infrastructure team. So this call kind of sits under my purview and budget. Thank you.
Great, thank you very much. So in terms of practicalities, well, this is my first time using the Teams webinar function, so do bear with us if we make any errors, and please use the Q&A function to write any questions, and we'll come back to those at the end of the webinar. So I'll just move on to present some slides now. So during this webinar, I will provide background to the Alert 2025 opportunity, explain the scope, talk about the application and assessment process, and also answer any questions. So first, I wanted to introduce the recently published BBSRC Refreshed Forward Look, which was developed through consultation with many stakeholders. So thank you if that included you. It sets out a long-term and high-level vision, ambition and commitment, which underpins our strategic delivery plan. So BBSR's vision is to harness the power of bioscience to deliver a healthy, sustainable and resilient future. And BBSR's ambition is to deliver 3 high-level and interconnected impacts: healthy people, animals and plants, sustainable agriculture and food systems, and a resilient bioeconomy. And we will achieve our ambition through applying innovations to deliver real-world changes, catalysing discovery, and creating and deploying transformative technologies. So BBSRC is committed to providing leadership and catalysing collaborative working to support the people, infrastructure and routes to impact that will drive progress. So further recognising the importance of infrastructure in what we do, BBSRC released its Infrastructure Strategic Framework in early 2024. So this framework describes a wide range of BBSRC's infrastructure investments at all scales, from local to international. It is underpinned by the following 7 key principles outlined in this figure here that will help guide our future strategy investments. So I'm not going to go through all these now, but please use the link or QR code to find out more. So moving on to the Alert 2025 scope. So the purpose of Alert is to support the purchase of mid-range equipment for research across BBSRC's scientific remit. This encompasses multi-user equipment that promotes collaboration and increased access to users within industry, the public sector, and other institutes. And it enhances institutional and regional capabilities to maintain the competitiveness of UK bioscience. So Alert aims to be responsive in what it funds, including new technologies and methods and the use of equipment in new ways. For example, lab-to-field equipment, which enables the translation or applied use of laboratory-scale experiments to real-world settings or environments. But Alert also recognises the importance of workhorse equipment, which may require enhancing, upgrading, or replacement. So moving on to some funding information. The budget for Alert 2025 is anticipated to be 20 million, and this is for equipment only awards. So you can't charge staff costs to these grants. So awards are 12-month in duration, and you can request a minimum of 200,000 and a maximum of 1.5 million, and that's funded at 100% FEC. So I should say, please make sure you put all your costs under the exceptions equipment heading only on your form, as your application may be rejected if your costs are added under the wrong heading. Other one-off costs associated with the equipment, e.g. initial service and maintenance contracts and warranties are eligible. Maintenance contracts can extend beyond the grant for a maximum of 24 months, so they're 36 months duration in total, but the contract must be paid upfront so that costs are covered in the 12-month lifetime of the grant. Refurbishment costs may be eligible, providing these are an absolute requirement for the proper functioning of the equipment, for example, a ventilation system. These costs must be itemised in the application and fully justified. So the latest start date for all awards will be the 3rd of August 2026. And I should say, please review the core guidance and take particular note of the what we will not fund section. There is a list of areas available on the opportunity page. So the purpose of Alert is to fund single pieces of capital equipment. However, we recognise that some equipment may be made up of multiple components, particularly if it is custom made. Equipment that requires a assembly or involves several components which are not necessarily physically linked can be funded, provided that they constitute what we define as either a pipeline or a platform. So with a pipeline, each component can perform separate experiments, but you must demonstrate how the components are used as a whole system, and they must be used as a whole system by the user base. On the other hand, a platform includes individual components that are only capable of running experiments when they're assembled to form the final platform. In your application, you're expected to justify why each equipment piece is required and how the equipment will be jointly managed as a pipeline or platform. We ask that you please get in touch via the Alert email inbox to confirm any eligibility of your multi-component equipment. So we are again expecting significant demand for this opportunity, given it covers the whole of BBSRC remit. So any prospective applicants should consider carefully whether their application is within remit and scope of the opportunity, and should clearly articulate how the proposed project addresses the Alert 2025 scope and BBSRC remit. There is no institutional cap on the number of applications, but we strongly encourage research organisations to prioritise internally, and this also includes factoring in any resubmissions from previous rounds. In the case of exceptional demand, we will ask research organisations to undertake further internal prioritisation. We don't accept unsolicited resubmission of applications, so if you are hoping to resubmit, please contact the Alert inbox as soon as possible. So applications to Alert have been steadily increasing over the years. So in this graph here, we can see that for Alert 2021, we had just under 100 applications, but this has risen significantly and we received just under 140 for the last round. So this rise in applications is principally driven by the number of research organisations applying to this opportunity. This rose from 43 for Alert 21 to 61 for Alert 24. And this second graph illustrates that the majority of research organisations submit 1 or 2 or maybe 3 applications, with only a handful submitting large numbers. So a cap may not really be effective in controlling the number of applications we receive. So please do think carefully when you're submitting your application. If numbers continue to rise, it will put increasing pressure on the panel and the alert budget. As mentioned on previous slides, this is a BBSRC call, and although we understand that equipment has multiple uses, the research enabled by the equipment must fit predominantly within BBSRC's remit and should be clearly articulated in your application. You should use the vision section within the application form to highlight examples of research that align with BBSR themes and that will be supported by the equipment. You can find information on BBSRC's remit on our website, and I particularly wanted to draw your attention to the MRC and BBSRC interfaces joint statements. So this document provides guidance for researchers on where each council takes the lead and gives priority. And again, if you're always unsure whether your research fits within remit, then please contact us in the alert inbox again. So standard BBSRC eligibility rules apply for alert in terms of individuals and eligible organisations, and details of this are all on the opportunity webpage. You can only apply as project lead on 1 submitted application. However, you can still be a member of a consortium or on multiple applications and be listed as a project co-lead. However, such applications are going to be in direct competition, so this is not recommended unless the applications are in very different areas. As in prior rounds, we'll be using the resume for research and innovation, and this will replace the traditional CV format to recognise a broader set of skills and experiences. Focus should be given to the expertise and experiences required to deliver the proposed equipment. So UKRI is a signatory of the technician commitment. The commitment aims to ensure visibility, recognition, career development and sustainability for technicians working in the higher education sectors across all disciplines. So BBSRC recognises the crucial role played by research technical professionals in providing core technical excellence across all our investments, from enabling teams to deliver research outputs through to operating and maintaining large capital investments in instrumentation, and also training other staff and students in their use, as well as developing new technologies and methodologies. Recently, BBSRC have been undertaking some work to improve our wording around the eligibility criteria for RTPs, and have made some updates to our web pages. So do view them via this QR code. So again, Alert is strongly encouraging application from RTPs and research software engineers. You can apply to be a project lead or a co-lead if you're an RTP and carry both a level of responsibility and range of duties appropriate to a person with substantial research experience equivalent to an academic at lecturer level or above. Furthermore, when applications are assessed by the panel, they will want to understand how your approach to managing the equipment has been designed with provision for training and development of RTPs in mind. Just going to have a quick drink, sorry. So as a result of championing the role of RTPs in grant applications in recent years, we're pleased to report some recent successes of RTPs leading Alert Awards. So for 2024, of the 138 applications received, 33 were RTP led, so that's 24% of the applications received. Basically, a quarter were led by RTPs. Of the 31 awards funded, 9 were RTP led. That equates to a success rate of 29%, which is actually better than the overall success rate of 22%. So well done to our RTP applicants, and I hope to see similar or better for the 2025 round. So I'll now move on to some application guidance details. So your alert application will include the following sections. These are largely similar to Alert 2024. So we have made a few changes in terms of increasing word counts in a few sections based on feedback from the community. And there is a change to the ethics and responsible research and innovation section in terms of the questions that are asked. So what you need to include in these sections is given on the opportunity webpage, but I will talk briefly through them now. So for the purpose, you should clearly describe the equipment you're requesting, explain how it meets the needs of different bioscience communities and how it delivers on strategic aims of BBSRC. In essence, we want to know why it is needed now and why BBSRC should support it. You should also show your knowledge of related capabilities available within your organisation or more widely, and clarify how this new equipment will complement existing equipment. For the vision section, applicants should describe the wide range of excellent research that will be enabled by the equipment, both within and potentially outside of the host organisation. You can also talk about training opportunities here as well. So the panel will assess the quality of the research and potential impacts that your equipment proposes to enable. Again, the research should lie predominantly in BBSRC remit. For the approach, you should describe a clear plan of how the requested equipment will be managed, from installation to support and maintenance, including access models for a diverse user base and support for training and development of staff associated with the new equipment. The panel will be looking to get a clear picture of the environment that the equipment will sit in and how this will contribute to its successful utilisation. For example, location, complementary expertise, etc. In the sustainability section, you need to demonstrate the steps you will take to ensure sustainability of the proposed equipment. For example, covering environmental aspects, such as strategies to mitigate emissions associated with equipment, and economic aspects, such as the longer-term support for operational and maintenance costs. For the applicant and team capability to deliver section, as I said before, we'll be using the resume for research and innovation again. So you need to use the R4RI modules to demonstrate why you are the right individual or team to procure and manage the proposed equipment. A wide range of capabilities can be included in this section, provided that they show relevance to your application. For the resources and cost justification, you should provide a full justification for this for the equipment requested, demonstrating that you thoroughly evaluated the options available on the market and can provide clear reason for choosing a preferred supplier and specific model of equipment. Details of service contracts, discounts or host contributions should be included in this section as well. Ethics and responsible research and innovation is also incorporated into the assessments and will cover multiple aspects. Ethics and RRI should be considered in terms of the initial procurement process through to the use and management of the equipment in the longer term. This could include anything from ethical considerations in choosing suppliers to considering unintended outcomes arising from data generated by the equipment and how this could be mitigated. So this year, there are also additional sub-questions covering animal usage, human participants and GMOs. So these are optional and you can simply mark not applicable in your application if these sections aren't relevant. But given in previous rounds, we have funded, for example, animal facilities and equipment that will support research to look at human brain function. As the team responsible for the facility, you should be considering these questions as well as those conducting research on the equipment. So those 7 sections form the bulk of the application and are what the panel assessment is based upon. And then there is additional information needed to support your application. And these include organisational support. So this is where your organisation should provide a strong statement of support for the equipment being situated there. This can also include details of any additional support or match funding that will add value to the application. So I should say, whilst contribution from other sources are certainly welcome, they are not mandatory. So project partners, so these are collaborating organisations who will have an integral role in the proposed project. These may include direct cash or indirect contributions such as expertise, staff time or use of facilities. Applicants should make clear the type of contribution, whether they're direct or indirect, and the additional value they will bring to the project. For data management and sharing, we want you to briefly explain how we will manage and share data collected or acquired through the proposed research, demonstrating compliance with UKRI's data sharing policy. For the international collaboration section, briefly describe if the proposed work involves any international collaboration or engagement. And finally, the trusted research and innovation section. So I've got a separate slide on that. So This is a relatively new section added on behalf of a UKRI-wide programme to help protect all those working with international partners and enable partnerships to be as open and secure as possible. The TRNI principles set out UKRI's expectations of organisations funded by UKRI in relation to due diligence for international collaboration. So such applications to alert will be asked to demonstrate how their proposed projects will comply with our TRI&I principles and expectations, identify potential risks and the relevant controls you will put in place to reduce these risks. So this is the indicative timeline for Alert 2024. So the call is now launched and will close on the 20th of January next year. We'll then go through the BBSRC check-in process before the applications go to the panel. We are planning to hold the panel meeting shortly after the Easter break and hope to get decision to you in May or June. And as I said before, projects must start by the 3rd of August 2026. So just to remind you of our assessment process, which is the same as previous years. It is a panel-only assessment process for which we recruit a large interdisciplinary panel across BBSRC's remit to ensure we have sufficient expertise. Each proposal is assessed and scored by a minimum of 3 panel members with relevant expertise, but panel members can see and comment on all applications unless they are conflicted. We ensure that panel members are unable to influence the assessment of conflicted applications, so they will not have access to discussions of these applications and will be removed from the room during any discussions in the final panel meeting. So at the end, the panel will produce a funding recommendation for BBSRC, which will be taken back to the office. So that's all I wanted to cover today, but if you have any queries on the application, eligibility, remit, etc., then please contact the alert inbox. For any funding service related queries, please contact them directly by email or phone, and we'll aim to respond to your queries within 5 working days. So thank you very much. Now we could move on to some questions.
Thanks, Jen. I'll just bring up a few that we'd marked to answer live. Okay, so there was a question about the maximum duration, the 24-month service contract, and if it included the 1-year warranty when it was purchased, or is it an extra 24 months on top of that 1-year warranty? And Rowan's actually answered that to say that it is 24 months on top of the initial 12 months.
Yeah, so it can run 36 months in total from the start of your grant, I think.
Yeah. And then we had a question about institutional support. What weight is given to that by the panels? Given the financial situation in many places, it's becoming challenging to find. So it's kind of how is the institutional support considered by the panels?
I mean, it will be looked at in the application because we ask that it's written, any institutional support is written into the letter. But as I said before, it's optional whether you provide any kind of additional contributions, and it doesn't always have to be kind of a cash contribution. This could be things like provision for training, etc. So I guess it's being quite broad in thinking what that piece of equipment can do and what your institute can offer. It doesn't always have to be money.
And let me just check if there's any other questions coming in. Is the 200k a hard lower limit, or would BBSRC consider exceptions that are below the 200k limit?
No, the lower limit is 200k. No, we don't have applications. We don't accept applications below.
And Danny, have you spotted any more that we can answer live right now?
There's a few in here that have questions about numbers of collaborators. Charlotte, if you'd like to take those potentially.
Yeah, so from Robert, we are almost 30 we have almost 30 PIs interested in getting a particular piece of equipment. Do I add these as collaborators?
Oh, I'm not sure I actually know the answer to that. I think that one we might have to come back to you with. I think it depends if they're spending if they're kind of dedicating time to it, then they should be detailed. Can we answer that one offline? If you could send in the query to the alert inbox.
And one from Regina. I'm somewhat confused by the description of a pipeline/platform in the guidance. Could you possibly give an example, or is it better for the applicant to get in touch with us via the inbox to discuss?
I guess that I struggle to think of examples because I'm new to alert, so it would often be better if I could refer back to ones that have been put in place before. I mean, if you go on to what we funded last time, I think there is some, which is kind of, there's a link available from the opportunity webpage. There is some examples of a platform there, which is a field scale equipment for measuring kind of emissions from agricultural soils. So that was an example of a platform. I think the main thing is that, you know, with the pipeline, the main thing that is there is that it's made up of multiple pieces of equipment. For example, maybe you want to look at something related to behavior of a cell, so you want to isolate them and then analyze them further. But all those pieces of equipment have to be kind of linked to get to that final answer. It's not the case of that you can look at lots of things in isolation. They need to all form kind of one final picture, I guess. And with the platform, those pieces can't work independently. So you might have multiple pieces of equipment making up your platform, but they actually can't operate independently. If that answers your question, but also do drop an email and I can try and clarify, particularly if you're thinking of putting in a platform or pipeline, we could talk through the details of your particular case and try and get an answer for you that way.
Okay. So next one, given that MRC have pulled their equipment call this year, what impact do you see that having on this year's alert round?
Well, there's a possibility we may see an uptick in number of applications, but I think, as I've kind of emphasized at a few points in the webinar, I think the really important thing is to make sure that you are in remit and in BBSRC remit for this call. That's all I can really say on that. Just make sure you stay within remit of BBSRC. And if you're not in remit and your application should sit with MRC, then maybe you'll have to wait until equip restarts.
Okay. Is there a limit on the number of co-applicants?
I think we just had that question already in terms of somebody asking whether they should put the 30 people on their application who were interested in using the equipment. I actually don't know if there's a limit on co-applicants, sorry, so I'm going to have to go back and find out that information.
Okay, so if the grants are awarded May/June of 2026, what is the August 2026 deadline about?
Well, that's when you need to, the August the 3rd date is when you need to start your grant by. So you may receive, in May or June, you'll be notified whether you've been successful or not. But then we'll then go through the process of awarding the grant, and you need to start your grant by August the 3rd.
Thanks, Jen. Okay, so of the projects listed on the application, how many are expected to contain preliminary data? Can preliminary data be representative of what could be achieved with the proposed equipment? So not necessarily generated using the proposed equipment.
So I think on the application, we'd expect you to identify kind of research areas that the equipment will use. If you have some preliminary data, then that's good and you can use that, but it's not kind of like something that has to be for kind of every example and use that you want, that your equipment will kind of serve.
So we've had a few in about maintenance service contracts. I think we've already sort of addressed that. If you have any follow-up questions, please contact us at the BBSRC alert inbox.
Yeah, and I should say we will update the funding call with some information on the kind of maintenance contracts.
And there's another question about the start dates. So the August the 3rd start date. Would starting the grant by August the 3rd mean starting the procurement process, and you must then have the equipment installed within the 12-month period?
Yes, so you have that kind of year to get the procurement underway and the equipment installed, yes.
And just another one on the lower limit, the 200k lower limit. Does the 200k lower limit include the whole cost of the proposal? For example, equipment plus the service contract?
Yes, it does, yeah.
Okay. Sorry, Danny, I'm just filtering through the questions. Have you noticed any that we haven't answered that could be answered live?
I say we've had a couple of questions about final reports.
Do you want to ask that one?
Yep, so there's just a couple of questions about whether final reports will be required if awarded, and what that might cover.
I don't think final reports are needed for alert, but I will double check because I'm not 100% sure. So if the person with the question, does Rowan want to say something?
Yeah, so we don't request final reports for alerts. We're always really pleased to hear about how the equipment is used and if you've got some exciting results from it. But final reporting is not a formal requirement. There will be final reconciliation, accounting wise, but we don't ask for a final report per se.
Good, thank you, Rowan.
Okay, and then we have a question about remit. So for equipment which is relevant for both BBSRC and MRC research areas, how should we assess eligibility? Does at least 50% usage by BBSRC funded research qualify?
I'd say, well, all I can say, it must be predominantly be in our remit. I mean, we haven't set a percentage on this. It just needs to be predominantly within BBSRC remit.
And then there's a question about if research officers are considered under the RTP job description or title, since this is encouraged. I feel like we might need to answer this offline unless you have anything to add here, Jen.
I would say I think we're better answering that offline, because often some of these can be a little bit on a case-by-case basis, dependent on experience of the kind of potential applicants. So yes, please email into the alert inbox and we can look at your query in more detail.
Thanks. We also have another one about international partners and trusted research and innovation. As this is capital investment, there may be future research projects for which this will be relevant, but these may not be known at the time of submission of the bid. I think, again, we can, if you please email this one into the alert inbox, and then we can respond to that one as well, because it may need some intricacies, regarding the specific project. But thank you, Jasmine.
Yes, thank you. We have a TR&I team that we can consult to get more information from.
And then we have a question about a direct award to the preferred supplier. Is it a direct award to the preferred supplier or a tendered process? I assume that's relating to the piece of equipment.
I mean, I think we will award the money to you through our standard process. So you'll receive it in quarterly payments, like a standard grant, and how you negotiate with your equipment supplier, I think is down to you. I suggest you talk to your kind of university services to help you through your procurement process.
Okay, and then just want to clarify the VAT inclusion in the FEC. If the equipment is VAT exempt, should the cost in the application be excluding VAT?
I think we generally ask that you include VAT in your application, but I think you need to probably indicate that they're VAT exempt.
Okay, and then one about entering staff onto the application. So did I hear correctly that nothing should be entered into the staff category under the section resources and cost? Do we just add people to the core team section?
I
Do you want me to answer that one?
Do you know that one?
Yeah. So yeah, you should be adding them to the core team section, because you're not requesting costs for them because they're not eligible on alert grants. They shouldn't be, no cost should be entered in the resources and cost section for those staff. And then we have a further question regarding BBSRC remit. I think Carol Ann, if you have a specific project in mind that you want to discuss the remit of, please do email us, because we can give you a bit more guidance on sort of the remit of the use of the equipment, so projects or planned projects, whether they should be funded by BBSRC. Okay. So I think there aren't any more questions coming in. If we haven't got to your question yet, please email us at the BBSRC alert inbox, and we can help follow up with that. Yes, I think that's it, Jen.
Okay, well, thank you very much for joining today, and I hope that this was useful. And as Charlotte says, any other questions, then do please reach out to the alert inbox and we will get back to you as soon as we can. Okay. Thank you.